I feel like there's more change in the camera market right now than we've seen in years, and the top selling brands have shifted. The Sony RX1R Mark III is stirring arguments everywhere, and we're getting credible new leaks from both Sigma and Sony, so let's just jump in. So across the board, the global camera market is seeing some real shakeups, and sales numbers from June put a spotlight on who's actually winning right now. Looking at industry tracking out of Japan and mid-year rankings from both BCN and other market analysts, we get a detailed snapshot showing clear winners by category, and there are some surprises. A quick side note, and I mentioned this in a previous video, but the reason that I like to go into these numbers on my channel is that I think that if you look closely at these figures, you can predict where the market will be heading in the next 12 to 18 months, as these camera companies absolutely rely on this market data to make decisions about research, development, marketing, and releases. So Sony is firmly leading the charge in compact cameras this year, dominating the segment on both the Japanese market and globally. Meanwhile, Canon continues to command the DSLR category with substantial lead. That staying power comes largely from their relentless focus on entry level, which remains popular with first-time buyers and schools. Mirrorless, though, is where things are getting most interesting. Fujifilm is climbing in the market. They're building momentum from its unique balance of classic design and modern features. Still, Sony edges out the competition with innovative updates and a razor-thin lead in market share. Now, in the number one overall spot is the Canon R10, along with its 18 to 150mm kit lens. Now, the ZV-E10 Mark II from Sony is taking the number 2 and number 3 spots with its various zoom bundles. Canon's R50 taking the 4th and 5th spots with its white and black models. The Nikon Z50 Mark II coming in at number 6, and rounding out the top 7 with the Sony A6400. So what stands out here is that in 2025, brand loyalty doesn't necessarily guarantee market leadership. Feature innovation, usability, and timing can all play major roles. Canon's continued dominance, as well as Sony's compact reign and Fujifilm's rise, are each fueled by different strategies. But interestingly, the decline in DSLR, where Canon is still on top, is a very interesting market move that we're going to continue to watch. Let me know where you think the market is headed and which brands you're rooting for. Real quick, if you're enjoying the content here, I'd really appreciate it if you become a channel member. You'll get access to my Lightroom preset packs, my LUTs, as well as custom motion graphics that I've created for myself as a photographer here on YouTube. You'll also get priority comments, early release videos, live VIP videos, and chat. But first, I want to take you through just a few of the Lightroom presets that we have in the Spring Tone kit. This has been the pack that I've been using all spring when shooting my clients, starting with Daybreak, which brings just kind of a warmth to the image, as well as Glow Line, which is just a little bit cooler. I also love Tidefall, which kind of deepens things, really separates out the background, and Sunset Veil, which is again a little bit more on the cool side, but I really like this preset. So again, if you want to support the channel and what I'm doing here, go ahead and become a member. You'll get that LUT pack for free. I'm not selling that anywhere. And again, it is $1 to become a member. Thanks so much, and back to the
Next, let's get into one of the most debated compacts, really just kind of debated cameras, I think, at all of the year, which is the Sony RX1R Mark III. And this camera isn't just stirring up chatter for nothing. Reviews are coming in from Cam Mackey, Terry Warfield, Tony Northrup. There's a rant video from Frono's Photo, and we've got reviews from tech outlets like The Verge. And conclusions, while consistent, offer plenty to dig into. The body and design is unmistakably premium across every review. There's a massive praise for the image quality, as well as the professional output from a camera that actually fits potentially in a jacket pocket. The packing of a full-frame sensor into a camera this size is widely recognized as impressive. The Verge calls it ideal for professionalism in a pocket-sized convenience. Terry Warfield, for example, highlighted not just the clarity and dynamic range, but also that the 1R's performance in low light puts it on a short list for shooters who need portability without compromise. Cam Mackey's review, however, dives into a subtler point. That despite the tech, he says that the 1R lacks emotion due to its limited feature set. There's less flexibility compared to similarly priced competition. And Tony Northrup echoed that same point, saying that the camera's high price puts it out of reach for most mainstream users. So what's the summation? Well, the 1R is almost
purpose-built for a specific pro who wants portable, high-quality stills above all. And for everyone else, the cost is going to be a hard sell. So if you've had a chance to try it or you're considering one, let's talk pros and cons down in the comments. Next up, I want to highlight PetaPixel's just released brand report card, which is kind of a mid-year roundup. Now, in their assessment, Sony is getting a B-C+, specifically because of the fact that we've seen really no major body releases in 2025, only slight improvements in their cinema line and some lens releases, and really nothing on the APS-C side. Canon gets about the same grade for their focus on vlogging cameras and recently announced lenses, including the 75-300, which I did a video about and said absolutely do not buy this lens because it is just a recycled DSLR film lens. We've also seen no pro bodies from Canon, although they did just release the R1 and the R5 Mark II last year. We're still waiting on updates to the R6 and the R7. Panasonic, Nikon, and Fuji all getting high marks for their innovative releases this year and strong focus on features. Another update worth looking at is the emergence of a freshly leaked Sigma, the upcoming 12mm f1.4 DC DN lens. Now, leaked photos are circulating online point to a compact but robust build, clearly tailored for photographers who want ultra wide coverage from a lens that doesn't weigh down your bag. Now, with specs like a 1.4 maximum aperture, this is going to appeal to anyone who's shooting landscapes, nightscapes, astrophotography, genres that rely and thrive on ultra wide glass and very fast optics. Now, what makes the Sigma release really interesting to watch is where it's going to land in the lineup. Sigma's history has always been about strong performance at more accessible prices. And a 12mm f1.4 would be positioned right up with Sony's G Master or Nikon Z series ultra wides, but potentially with a more approachable price tag.
Real quick, I want to break into this video to say thank you. Thank you to everyone who participated in my Instagram giveaway. I now have over 1,200 followers. We've hit our goal. I've also got over 21,000 subscribers here on YouTube, and I couldn't have done it without any of you. I can't do any of this without all of you. So I really want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Now, I'm in the process of putting my gear list together so that we can start the giveaway, and I'll be announcing a live video to do that very soon. In the meantime, if you want to continue following me over there on Instagram, I'm active and I can always use the help. If you want to support me even more, you can become a member of the channel, or you can follow me on Facebook or TikTok, where I'm still trying to grow. But that's it. I just want to say thank you. Now back to the video.
Lastly, let's take a look at some pretty wild rumors that we have over at Sony Alpha Rumors indicating updates to Sony full-frame bodies. We mentioned earlier that PetaPixel kind of scored Sony on the low end because we haven't seen a lot of updates from them in 2025, right? We saw the FX2, we saw the FX3 Mark II, but we're still waiting for quite a few new cameras, but there are a few in the pipeline that we know about. We haven't officially seen them yet. And some of these rumors you got to take with a grain of salt, but we're going to go through them really quick. And I appreciate the fact that the folks over at Sony Alpha Rumors have thrown a number of pinches of salt here to make sure that we know that there's the potential for these things not to come to pass. But let's take a look at what they have, because recently these rumors have been right on. The first is that the A7S4 and the FX3 II will not use a global shutter or a partially stacked sensors. They'll use a new technology in a stacked sensor design called layer transistor pixel technology. This technology can improve dynamic range as well as low light performance. And while this idea is not new and will very likely be included in these next two camera releases, what we don't know is whether or not the two-layer transistor sensor will be 24 or potentially 21 megapixels for 6K 60 oversampled, and the potential for 4K 120. The next was the issue as it related to an update to the FX9, and that Sony wanted to release an update to the FX9 this year, but instead it's coming in as an FX8 instead of an FX9 II because it's using removable external audio recording modules in order to reduce the overall size. And the rumor is that the FX8 will have a more powerful cooling system, an 8.5 stop in-body image stabilization system for that sensor, as well as electronic ND. And the headline feature of the FX8 is that it is apparently going to be using a newly developed 16-stop full-frame 12K resolution sensor with 81 effective pixels that when shooting in 16:9 will not require the 6% crop for horizontal full-frame shooting. Additionally, this rumor claims that the FX8 will actually feature a dual base ISO of 500 and 2000 with an enhanced ISO at 8000. The rumor continues that the FX8 would offer multiple scan modes with a full frame 12K at 30 frames per second, as well as a full frame 6K that is binned at 60 frames per second, a full frame binned 3.8K with a 1.04 crop at 120 frames per second, and a Super 35 8K at up to 60 frames per second. Another really weird bit that was included in this rumor is that potentially FX8 can simultaneously record uncropped versions with AI-tracked cropped versions into multiple streams to then edit together to give you kind of an uncropped version and a PTZ version of your shoot. Again, lots of salt. And lastly was a rumor indicating that someone had seen another individual walking around with a potential Sony prototype camera with a smaller EVF than what we see on the A1 II, and a display on the screen indicating 33 megapixels, which was one of the resolutions that we had seen as potential for an update to the A7 series. Additionally, there's a rumor that a Sony rep was going around telling folks that there would be a full frame 6K camera to compete with Canon's C400, which might make a little bit more sense now that the FX9 has been discontinued, but at this point, who knows? And if you want to support what I'm doing here, consider becoming a channel member. It's just $1. And if you're looking to book a photo or video session, all the details are down below, including my free mini sessions, along with gear and deal lists, including everything that I use to make my videos here in the studio. And those links do go to help the channel. But as always, the easiest way to support the channel is just to hit like and subscribe. Those are free, and it goes a long way to helping me grow here on YouTube. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.